Hey everyone, Jesse here. I'm sorry that this episode review has taken so long. I'm going to be posting a video uh, relatively soon about it's kind of a serious subject matter, and that'll kind of explain. But for now, I just want to talk about this episode, and I love this episode. This is a very good episode. Um, I don't understand some of the criticisms about this. Some people are being overly harsh about this episode, but I think the majority of people seem to really like it, and I find it very moving. Begins right after Trunks defeats Zamasu with his Genki Dama sword thing. Even Goku makes a joke about that sword, like looked like it had a Genki Dama in it. And Trunks just says, "Yeah, I used all the energy of all. No real. I mean, that's kind of explanation of how he used it, but not as much of an explanation as people would have wanted." You see Goku and Vegeta give their earrings back to Gawas and Kaioshin. Uh, and then out of nowhere, a red sky beam comes out of the ground, and Zama's face just starts engulfing the entire sky. There's just everywhere, everywhere, everywhere. And then we see the same static shot of Android 8 that we've seen for the past few episodes. Same static shot of him just like, dull surprise, face open. Uh, Guas makes a comment that Zamas is trying to take control or become the entire universe to become justice itself. We see him basically take over the entire planet, and then his essence just starts spreading across the entire universe. Goku and Vegeta aren't able to turn Super Saiyan Blue because they used up all their energy in their Vegito state. But Trunks powers up, and they all fire a Kamehameha, a Galako, Final Flash, uh, Trifesta beam, and does nothing. But then the Zamas, death cloud thing just starts raining down energy over the entire planet, killing everyone, all the people that were left on the planet, including Yajirobe, all the little kids that that Trunks looked after, the turtle on top of Kame House, everyone except for Goku, Vegeta, Trunks, Mai, Bulma, and the Kaioshins and Guas. Yeah. So in that hit Trunks and Mai really hard. That everyone is dead, and Mai just desperately just picks up her shotgun and starts shooting at the sky. To much avail. Goku starts looking for another Senzu bean. Uh, Desperately. And he's like, at first he finds it, but then bam, remembers that he has the button that Zeno gave him, and asks Guasa and Supreme and Kaioshin, "Hey, is the Zeno of this world still here?" He's like, "Yeah, well, no matter what, no one can defeat Zeno." It's like, beam, pushes button, he pops up. He's like, "Oh, what's this place? This place is weird." And he looks at Goku. He's like, "Who are you?" I'm like, "I'm Goku. Did you do this?" Like, "No, that guy up there did it." He looks up at the sky. He doesn't say like, "Oh, how terrifying" or how strong he is. He just goes, "He's annoying." And then it's like, "Yeah, can you take care of him?" "Yeah." "Oh, a world like this, with this, does not need to exist." And so he begins to destroy, not including not just Zamas, not just a planet, but the entire universe that future Trunks came from. And it's pretty devastating. Essentially just deleting the entire universe uh, that future Trunks came in. And they've Goku and the gang frantically get back on the time machine. Goku and Vegeta are not even in it. They're just hanging on to it, which I'm not sure how that works. Um, but they all go back to Goku's normal time, And as soon as they get there, he asks Bulma to refuel the time machine. And then they go back. There's no space. There's no other planets. There's no stars. It's just an empty void. And we see Zeno just kind of floating around in space, in the void, just doing nothing. And Goku says, "I can take you to a fun place." And Zeno's like, "Well," and then they go back to Goku's time, and Beerus is just shocked that he's there. Then Kaioshin and Whis take Goku and the future Zeno to the current Zeno, and because he promised the current Zeno that he would bring him a new friend, and so he did. He brought him himself from the future, and they could not be any happier. Yeah, it's cute to see the present Zeno get all excited to see Goku, and I'm like kind of just curious, kind of like, who is this? Both of them say, "Goku, who is this?" And it was really funny. And then we learn that the high priest looks at Whis and says, "Is this your doing?" He says, "No, this is Goku-san's doing." And then in this moment we learn that the high priest is actually Whis' father, which makes sense. They look alike. The high priest is a lot stronger than Whis, so perfect sense. I'm not sure why no one has made the connection, but I like it. They go back to Earth, and Beerus is, they're talking about the timeline and shit, and Whis says that he can send Trunks and Mai to an alternate, not a second alternative future where it has not been erased. I'm not sure how they were able to create it. I'm still really confused by that, but I think it has something to do with Beer's not killing Zamasu. He created alternate universe because he chose to. I don't know. It's kind of weird, but it's a different future Trunks because it's still the future Trunks timeline where Beerus is no longer alive because of Kaioshin being killed. So it's kind of complicated to explain and really hard for me to understand, because even if I can follow future or time exploring storylines, I just have a kind of hard time understanding Whis' explanation. But Whis says that he'll go to the other future and warn that future's Beerus about Zamasu and tell him to destroy Zamasu before he has a chance to become immortal, so there will be no threat. And so, but the drawback is that if Goku or if Trunks and Mai decide to go there, there's going to be another Trunks and Mai there, so there'll be two of them. And at first they're kind of surprised by that, and Mai said, "I'll be okay because I'll be able to spend time with the people I loved and wanted to protect." So I'm not sure how I feel about that. I mean, them going to a timeline where there's two of them. I understand Mai's reasoning, but wouldn't you rather be on a world where you have more people to protect over and just stay in hiding? But I was kind of hoping that Trunks and Mai would stay on Earth or in the present timeline of Goku and just not try to affect the timeline so much and just kind of stay in hiding and Mount Pals or something, or somewhere isolated. But no, they decide to go, and before they head off, Goku or Vegeta has a really touching moment with Trunks. Instead of just giving him two fingers up saying bye, he charges at him, throws him a powerful punch, and Trunks is easily able to catch it. And Trunks smiles at Vegeta. Vegeta smiles back at Trunks, knowing that he is finally, the strong son that he wanted and has a real smile on him, like that he's a real proud father. I love that moment. And Trunks is going up in the time machine, and we see that Piccolo and Gohan have flown up and caught up in Gohan's, just apparently he was way out of breath. He gives him a good wave, and Gohan is looking, kind of more like Buu Saga Gohan here. Trunks looks at him and says, and has like a mental flashback to the Gohan that trained him, and becomes very emotional. That he failed to protect the future as Gohan wanted him to. But then Gohan says, "Be well," and that gives Trunks hope. He wipes off his tears, and there they go into another future where they'll call home. I love this ending. This was a great ending to this arc. It was very much. The final moment between Trunks and Gohan is so tearjerking. It's hard not to cry every time I watch this, but I definitely get glassy eyed every time. I was going to do a separate video about my impressions of the Future Trunks arc, but I'm just going to do it here. I am not disappointed by the Future Trunks arc at all. I loved it. This has been a pinnacle arc in Dragon Ball Super so far. It's the one thing that I've been desperately wanting from Dragon Ball Super is a longer arc with a villain that poses a real threat, because it's such an interesting concept of a god being corrupted and wanting to wipe out all humanity, mortals all over the universe, just so he can, because he doesn't view himself as evil. He views himself as a hero in a sense, executing his own form of justice to eradicate all the violence, all the hate in all the universe. And because of his corruption, he has kind of a split personality, and really becomes insane by the end of the arc. And it's so fascinating to watch. There's a reason why a lot of people are saying that Zamasu / Goku Black is the best villain for a long time, because he doesn't start out as a villain. He's a god that feels like he's doing his job, but he totally does not get the picture of what his job is really supposed to be, to watch. He wants to have absolute control over everything, and that just really becomes so toxic for him that it just completely turns his personality. And the introduction of bringing Future Trunks back to Dragon Ball, of course, him being a fan favorite, it's really cool to see his character evolve in such a way. Although I am pretty disappointed that his quote-unquote Super Trunks form, zero explanation at all. They don't talk about it at all. It just sort of happens, and they're like, yeah, it's good enough. Not sure if it's like a Super Saiyan demigod form or what. There's zero explanation. Further exploring different universes. Guasa is such a funny, cool character, but he's evolves into such a kind of like a tragic character, because he accepts full responsibility of Zamasu, and says, "This is my sin," and even Beers tells him that be wise to choose your apprentices better next time. And it's such a he's got to have such a weight on his shoulders because of what exactly happened. Of course, the return of Vegito is such an exciting moment for all the fights, most of the fight, I'm not going to say all, but most of the fights in this arc are super smooth. They're very well animated, and they only can remind me of like one of my favorite animated sequences in all of Dragon Ball Z was a certain just well choreographed, very smoothly animated sequence of a fight between Goku and Majin Vegeta, and especially during the Vegito versus the merged Zamasu fight, it really showed that these animators are really starting to get the hang of Dragon Ball and the way that everything needs to look. They've come a long way since the fucked up episode 5, and yes, Vegito's fight was really short, but I would have liked him to been around for at least a full episode, not 10 minutes, because it's just so exciting. And for the longest time, Gogeta was my favorite fusion between the two, but in the past year or so, after going through and rewatching all of Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball Kai, in the traditional, in the real Japanese language. Yeah, I've said this before that I appreciate the dub, because when I was much younger, it's what I grew up, got old with. It's when I thought of Goku and Vegeta, I thought of Sean Shamel and Chris Sabat, but now it's like I just prefer the Japanese so much better. And listening to Vegito, in the much more iconic Japanese voices, I think listening to them together, and he has such a personality. Gogeta has zero personality. Vegito is so cool, so fun to listen to, and mainly because like he has more of a personality of Vegeta, and I've said before that Vegeta is my favorite character. So I think that's what started, the reason why Vegito is, I'm a little bit more biased because of Vegeta being my favorite character, but I'm not sure. Well, I am sure, but it's, it is what it is. But yeah, I think the pros definitely outweigh the cons of this arc, and it is fantastic. And I loved it, and I'm really sad it's over. I wish it could have been longer, but that's how anime is now these days. No more 60, 80 episode long arcs. Now it's like 15, 20 episode long arcs. But oh well, if I liked it a lot. All right, guys. You can follow me at Twitter at twitter.com/SSJAutobot. You can Instagram me too, SSJAutobot. And you can subscribe to me here on YouTube for the latest Dragon Ball news and reviews. I'll catch you next time.